Go fish, Chet.
Enough cards, boys. Dinner is served.
What's on the menu tonight, Spencer?
Coot. Much like the common carp, Americans have a similar malignant attitude toward the American coot. But are these ubiquitous, red-eyed, scaly-legged duck wannabes really not fit for the table? Or have the Cajun people picked up on something that we've somehow missed? I'm Spencer Neuharth, and this is Pardon My Plate, a show where we explore the human palate by eating what most consider to be repulsive, offensive, and altogether inedible. Let's dive in and see if these waterfowl are actually worthy of their foul perception.
This one's from @Woods Walleye Waterfowl. And this person says, I'd never eat one. Those weird feet make me uncomfortable. Me too.
Jacob Weber, 92, said, ate one, vomited profusely. Why would you eat a coot? Is that something I don't know anything about coots. Is that something you do?
Dakota Brother, 444, says, cook one up for yourself and then you'll find out when your wife and children leave you. Cook one up for yourself. Oh. Yeah. Bull Hunter says, I wouldn't eat something with those weird feet. My question is, how much better is a hoofed or a webbed or a spurred foot as you'd find in a duck or an elk or a turkey? I think defining something's edibility by its feet is just a super strange way to decide what you're gonna eat.
Have you ever eaten coot?
No, I wouldn't eat something with those weird feet.
Decoy_boy55 says, I cooked a coot for my cat, and my cat ran away from home. I see that as a win. Not a big cat fan. I'd be cooking coot a lot.
Michigan Hello 269 says, yeah, bro, I mean, lots of things are edible, but that doesn't mean I want to eat them.
So here's the deal with coot. Americans hate them. Ducks Unlimited, the nation's leading waterfowl conservation organization, likened them to the Rodney Dangerfield of birds. They simply get no respect, I tell ya. It's easy to see and hear why Fulica americana, or the American coot, get no acclaim. From their hideous, scaly feet that lack the familiar webbing of other puddle ducks, to their monotonous plumage that ranges from black to slightly less black. And you know how some children have a face that only a mother could love? Well, coot parents take this old adage a bit too far. Studies have found that coots preferentially feed chicks with the brightest feathers. On the contrary, the biggest and dullest chicks endure a form of parental aggression called tozzling. This is where the parents shake them by the back of the neck to keep them from getting their fair share of food. The whole thing is a weird, narcissistic behavior by coot parents that biologists really struggle to explain. Maybe it's to compensate for their poor vocals. Coot have one of the saddest songs in the wetlands. Let's compare for a minute to the melodic whistle of a teal. Or the decrescendoing quack of a mallard. Or the baying honk of a goose. And Coot, the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, describes their vocalizations as grunts, croaks, and squawks. To top it off, they're also one of the most vocal of birds. It's like a whole chorus of Steve Urkels, Fran Dreschers, and Gilbert Gottfried. If coots really do taste good, hunters are going to be kicking themselves for not taking advantage of the exuberant game laws that states allow. With a population of 6 million strong, they're one of the most abundant waterfowl in North America. Most states, in force, a daily limit of 15, and a possession limit of 45. Although I'm skeptical that anyone has ever been ticketed for overtake when it comes to coot. Despite all this teasing at the expensive coots, there is one group of hunters that actually appreciates them. In Cajun culture, coots are romantically referred to as poule d'eau or pole d'eau. In French, it translates to water hen. The traditional way to prepare it is in a hearty gumbo next to potato salad and French bread. Waterfowlers in South Louisiana swear by this dish, but admittedly, I'm skeptical. To see who's right, Louisiana or the rest of the continent, I'm calling on Ryan Callaghan to help me cook a coot that he shot in South Dakota. So let's see who's full of it, coot or every hunter who came before us that says they taste like mud. Are we starting? Like, is this the beginning? We're going now?
Oh yeah, we've been rolling now.
Okay. All right, today we're going to cook a bird that has like one of the worst reputations among game birds. Like, I don't know a more maligned species that like states track harvest data for and like set a game limit for than the American coot.
I mean, I would say in our neck of the woods for sure.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah. The coot does not have a good reputation. This is a great example. We have a duck next to a coot, which people refer to as a duck, but is not a duck.
Mm-hmm.
It's a rail. It's a totally different species, right?
Yeah.
It's like going to the grocery store and you being like, hey, Cal, pick me up a can of tomatoes, and I come back with a can of olives.
Yeah, this is not a duck, which I think a lot of people get wrong. Like, their feet look like this, right? Like, there's no webbing in them.
It is a marsh hen, right?
Yeah.
It walks around in the marsh and does its thing. I think the coot is perfect, Spencer. It's perfect for what it's supposed to do.
The meat color is like very different though. This is like greenish gray. That's not.
Greenish gray. You're talking yourself out of this thing already. But you can see, like, this is not a dissimilar color
Sure.
to, you know, really any other duck that you shoot.
Right, but like why we're not going to compare this to like a dove. You're not gonna like go on a dove hunt and come home with some coots, probably.
No.
But you might go out to kill some mallards or pintails or other puddle ducks and come home with some coots.
Whoever told you that these are harvested because they get confused with these is absolutely full of crap.
I'm putting my personal spin on it. My first waterfowl ever killed was the American coot. My first ever duck hunt, 5 minutes in, some birds come voluntarily like swimming into the decoys. And I'm like, oh my God, this is easy. Anybody could do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I shoot a couple coots out of there, not knowing that they're coot.
And then you notice that other birds decided to like fly into the decoys or just fly around in general.
Right. They lacked a little more fear. They had a more discerning eye for my setup than coots.
Right. You could get rid of that head.
There's a lot of talking coming from behind the fifth wall. So, step one for this is we're gonna just put this thing on the barbecue, cook it gently up to like a medium rare, and then we're gonna taste it and see what the base flavor is.
So something that I think deters a lot of people from bringing a duck home like this is all the pin feathers. It can be like a real tedious chore.
Yeah, and the reality is, like right now, we're not planning on eating the skin. Those things can stay on. It's not gonna screw with the flavor of the bird or anything, but it will seal in all the moisture. That's the whole point of skin. So I'm just not worried about this bird, you know.
Okay.
I mean, it's already got a bad reputation. It's not a pretty bird, according to Spencer, so.
Is this gonna be like a cross-hashing deal or not? Just one direction?
Depends on who you're trying to impress. I'm not super worried about impressing you. Then these little check marks will start to pop open and brown, and it gives the impression that you know what you're doing.
Okay. So what do we do for the coot now?
I'd snap that wing off. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Are you feeling a little froggy about just going au naturel on this thing?
I mean, I feel like at minimum I'd like some salt and pepper.
But see how that's like a rabbit?
Yeah. No,
type
that's
of-
like a perfect comparison.
Yeah, like cottontail, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I do. Just get your finger in there, peel that hide back, rub some
Alright.
salt and pepper on there. I'm gonna use the fully flocked on this Mr. Pintail here.
Made for waterfowl. There you go. I got bonus aprons. I'm gonna go turn the grill up quick just so that's ready too. All the action's gonna be here.
I get the fact that this is not like something that you find in the store, right? It is a plentiful bird out in the marsh. There's plenty of folks all over the place that eat them. I'm just trying to like regain my familiarity with the species.
Why can't I set the smoke?
A good place to start with birds on a pellet grill is right in that like 425 region. It's not gonna be crazy hot to where it's gonna mess something up really fast, but it's gonna be hot enough to where you're gonna get some char and reduce the amount of fat on the bird.
Weird. I thought I'd be able to adjust the smoke setting. Alright, good enough.
It's got hips. Yeah, it's like an articulated streamer. That's not seasoning. They're little tiny pin feathers. Don't get grossed out. It'll be fine. You gotta know your food. Hey, you put a whole pig on here, Spencer. You ready?
Cracker open.
What did you do?
Close it on my head.
Well, you got to keep that heat trapped.
Yeah.
So you have had a coot before because it's the first bird you shot.
Well, I'll tell you this. The hunters I was with encouraged us not to take it home. So that one was left for the raccoons.
Boy,
I've never had...
starting you off right.
I know.
I don't know who you were. you come talk to me.
Like, I think a lot of people have that perception. They're like, oh, you call them mud hen, they must taste like mud.
Yep.
They don't eat mud, though, at all. So they shouldn't, like, taste like mud.
Nope.
After, like, peeling that meat back and seeing, like, you said rabbit, and I was like, oh, yeah, like, that's rabbit. So I think it's gonna be kind of cottontail-y, and maybe, like, a little bit liver. Like, how long do you think? We've probably been on, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes so far.
We're kind of getting to that point where we're going to take that pintail and flip it over to be skin side down.
Yeah.
Probably in another minute or so. You know, there's all the variables,
Yeah.
right? Like opening up this thing 5 times for the camera. Woohoo! That's what I like to see. Just full of fat. Dang. This is what we're gonna do.
There you go.
We're gonna double stack it, put all the duck fat on top of our coot here. Coot's gonna take longer to cook because it's not as full contact.
It smells real good, though. I feel like coots are there for the opportunistic hunter.
They're definitely there for the opportunistic hunter. However, no animal likes to die. And there's a little, reflex in their brains that goes off and it goes, I shouldn't be here right now.
Then they know.
Then it becomes very hard to find a coot. Look at that.
Nice. So how long was that, you think? Probably about 8 or 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Both look like they're gonna taste good, I think. Like, not just the pintail even. Don't let the cat out.
All right, so there's our coot. Looking pretty. I would say much prettier than it was.
Yes.
And there's our pintail. You can see like our little checks up here in the skin.
Yeah, like the worst thing you could do to a duck is overcook it.
Special room in hell, Spencer. This is kind of like your Thanksgiving style bird.
Yeah.
Just kind of pop this thigh joint, and that actually looks great
So you said pintail came from California.
Yep.
Coot came from where?
The coot came from South Dakota.
You like identified it as a coot, and then it was like, I'm gonna eat this coot, and then you shot the coot.
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct.
A singular coot.
Yes, that was it. Steve tried to shoot a coot too. He just couldn't get the job done.
Ah, good on you.
Yeah.
A really small breast on these.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty darn deboned, right?
Right.
I mean, there's a little up here.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it. This is the coot.
You done a real good job cooking it. Like if this doesn't taste good, I'm confident it wasn't your fault.
You're saying it would be the coot's fault
Yes.
if it doesn't taste good.
Yes.
All right, well, let me know what you think.
First thought, and I hate this analogy, but I'm gonna use it, and I hope we don't use it again when we're doing this. But it tastes like chicken.
Drumstick tastes like chicken. Thigh. God, what's going on with the thigh? There's like something a little different in there. It's not displeasing at all, but
That's good.
yeah.
All right. You think the breast might taste different than the thigh?
Yes.
Again, I think it's like chicken. Like it's not too livery. I think it's like chicken. And it should be noted, because this is important, that just salt and pepper on here.
Slightly overcooked. It's not medium rare.
It's all right. So we're like tasting the coot with this though.
Not only were you tasting the coot, we're tasting the coot fat. Right? So it's like,
Well,
you're really tasting what it's eating and what it's been through. It's very comparable to like an upland game bird.
Yeah.
Like you can tell it works a little bit harder.
But that's like damn good. Like it's not just okay.
Do you feel like a little bit guilty that your very first coot you didn't come out of marsh with?
For sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. That's all that matters to me.
But let's check it out with the pintail now. Because
Yes.
like we said before, this comparison makes sense because you could come home with both these things.
It's pretty,
Real
a
pretty.
little more pleasing out of the gate. You're gonna eat the fat with the meat.
What do you got there? Perfect. It wouldn't be eating ducks without that. This is real good. This is like beef adjacent.
It is very, very beef adjacent for sure. Like I said, this is like a very controlled flavor. The consistency of a coot's diet is such that you're gonna be able to find that same flavor in every coot you shoot.
Yeah.
Versus there is some pretty serious variables in the pintail's diet.
What else would you or wouldn't you do with a coot? I feel like if this was a success, like a great success because this tastes good, you can do anything with these birds.
The hold up with the coot, just your yield is just not there.
Right.
That's the issue. It's not a flavor issue. It's kind of like a pain in the butt issue.
Yeah.
I would give our camera operators a chance to eat this stuff, but
It's gonna be gone.
it's so greasy. You know, we don't want them dropping camera.
Ready? Give that a try.
Oh yeah. That's really good.
Even with the choice of like still having to eat that, I keep coming back to the coot because it legitimately tastes good.
Oh, yeah, you can't fake some of this stuff.
Yeah. I now feel real bad that their nickname is Mudhen. That's not fair at all. Of the bad things that I've eaten, this is the best. This is like the most perception shattering critter that I've eaten. And I think like what that means for me and what I hope it means for like some duck hunter watching is that no more of these get left in like the cattails for raccoons and coyotes. Man, these are coming home with me from now on.
Yeah, even if it's not your primary species, it still has a good spot on the grill or in the freezer.
Definitely. Pardon my plate, but I bet you'll like Coot.